There's lots of conversation at Fringe festivals and in the arts more generally about the use of so-called artificial intelligence at the Fringe, in touring, in events, in the arts. And around Fringe theatre, that's become a real big issue, as it has in comedy and even reviewing, where last year at the Edinburgh Fringe there was it's a big scandal, but it died down quickly, about one particular review outfit using AI to write reviews. And so I think it's useful to perhaps bring in a concept that's in part of my other life, which is working in academia, and noticing that our university and many others have brought in a traffic light system. And you might groan when you hear traffic light systems because they appear everywhere, but I just think this is a useful lens to think about at the Fringe, whether you're a theatre maker, a writer, someone working in PR, marketing. And the traffic light system is fairly simple and it's not perfect, but I think it's a useful way of thinking about it. So here it is. When we set assignments for students, the traffic light system is red, amber and green, and it also applies to teaching and learning sessions and so on. If a assignment is red, it says no AI. It's really clear, no AI should be used in the students writing this assignment, doing it if it's an essay, for example. And students rightly point out that they get a bit annoyed if lecturers and academic staff are using it to create the assignment, and that's another big issue to talk about. But yeah, no AI. You can't use it to help you write, you can't use it to write for you, you can't use it in any overt way to look up stuff, which is a bit controversial because Google now is using AI, so can they not use that? And that's just really unclear. But I think the spirit of RED is we're setting you an assignment, and by and large we are not wanting you to use AI that in any way would be doing it for you, replacing you in any significant way whatsoever. Now when it's amber, specific elements of AI are specified, and so you can't use it to write, but you can use it to research. You can't use it to collect data, but you might use it to analyze data. And what you then usually have to do, I'd say pretty much always, is then include what your prompts were, how you used AI, in the same way you'd have to show you're working out in an exam. So Amber tends to be one that I think a lot of people default to because they sort of want to cover all their tracks. But the specificity of it makes that quite useful. How you can use AI. It might mention particular tools. Some universities, for example, which have deals with Microsoft for all of their software, so you can only use Copilot. And it's very specific that if you're using any tools that are not behind the firewall, you can't break GDPR. You can't use anybody's data. So the middle one, just like with traffic lights, is amber, where AI can be used. It's really specifically curated. And green is, yes, you can use AI, and it's kind of positively framed, and it's a choice, and we want you to use it. Maybe we'll train you how to use it, and that might be a course on AI, of course, and you can use Python for your coding, but it might also be, we want you to show us how you've used generative AI programs, Claude, ChatGPT, to create code, to actually write something, to create graphics, to create a video. And you'll notice there are tools now coming in early versions free with Google, for example, like their note taker model, which can create presentations, can create podcasts. The key thing here is that the students know what they're doing, it's conscious, and they are learning how to use it, or they're demonstrating that they know how to use it. So red, amber and green might be useful to think about, that you don't want to be criticised. And actually I put up because I've been doing the experiment, which is I cartoon at the Fringe, and I love cartooning with pens. I'm not a great cartoonist, I write them on the back of envelopes, but I started an experiment last year, which is just to do a really limited number of AI generated cartoons. I prompt them, so it's my idea, but they draw them. And I've stopped. I'm just putting up a few now and then to see what the reaction is, and I quite often get a negative reaction. I feel sort of relieved that they say this is AI slop. It's a bit rude, but I don't feel that they're mine, and maybe I'm transitioning to a time when I do, but I just love drawing them. And so the experiment for me has been having to deal with the fact that some of those really well drawn cartoons, and I say I've only done a limited number of them, they often get more likes. They get more positive likes from different people, but other people hate them. And so it's not something I intend to be using in any significant way going forward, because I just love drawing them, and I feel that my cartoons, particularly in terms of the words, are always better when they're mine. That sounds like I'm showing off. But so I would suggest at the Fringe there is still a bit of a disdain for AI, particularly we've got them as reviewers, that we're getting press releases in, a bit like when we get essays in, and they're just not very inspiring, that somebody's not prompting them really well. And it means that the press releases feel very cliched, they're full of those long hyphens, they're a bit repetitive, a bit simple, they're very linear. You don't get one piece of text mentioned and then it's built on and referred back to later. I think you have to prompt AI really carefully to do that, because for me it's not AI at the moment. It's very clever, it could be very functional, artificial impersonation. And impersonation can be really entertaining, but it's not as good when it's just ripping off badly what a human being would have done. And I know everybody's busy, so that's a different video. So with red, amber and green, with red, you would be absolutely saying no AI was used at all in the writing and researching of this review. You would say that's part of our brand as a theatre company. You could say the script, new writing, was entirely written by a human being, and that you're proud of it, and that's part of your ethos. If it's amber, and this is what I noticed a bit at the Fringe last year, is reviewers are saying we don't use AI to write our reviews, but we will use something like a platform like Perplexity to research shows and look them up, because it can come up with more interesting content than, say, Google does, with its just long pages of sponsored pages. And Perplexity claims not to do that as much, so you feel like you're getting a slightly more objective answer. So you might also say that AI was used in the generation of this image, but at the moment, we're getting press releases where the images look really AI generated, and I think that subliminally kind of affects what shows we might go and see. That might just be a bias, but being honest about how you use AI is just more transparent. It's more, I would say it's more responsible, and I've noticed some people are doing that. I haven't seen anyone say, I wrote this play and AI helped me write it, if the intention of that work is to be wholly original to the human writer. But what you can see is that if we go from amber to green, some people are saying this is an entirely AI generated improv show. That's where the material comes from. This play was written by AI, and that's part of the experiment. These videos were generated by AI, and digital art has been around a very long time, and it's part of the virtue of it. In all three cases, I think it's about transparency. I think it's, unless it's your artistic intention to hide it, but you might just want to think about, as you put your materials out, as you share with your audiences and potential reviewers what your work is it red, is it amber, or is it green? Red is the proud statement that you need to back up if ever somebody accuses you that AI was not used. There's a danger there, because our reviewers, for example, are academic, and a lot of them have been writing with the M dashes, the long hyphens that AI uses a lot for years, and they got really freaked out last year because they don't use AI at all, but they're writing. And certain human beings with different personalities, diversities and so on, can find that their writing is confused with AI, and there's academic research to back it up. But overall, saying that I didn't use it is the transparent statement that we have a current policy, artistic, of not using AI. With amber, you're really specific, and that becomes more acceptable, that we used AI here, we wanted to, it's more efficient, and this is why. Although there is still the fallback of people, I would say, not liking the idea that somehow you're coming across as having used AI because you just couldn't be bothered to use your own creativity or didn't have it. And finally, green, which is, this is a show that is exploring AI. It's using it very specifically for positive artistic reasons, and that's how you can judge us. So red, amber and green may be a useful lens for looking at AI at the Fringe.